Okay, welcome back to another episode of Third and 23. I'm your host, Alex, here to bring you another pick and prediction video. Talking week 13 of the college football season. As you see, I'm 39, 35, so around 53% ATS accuracy on the season. Goal has always been 60%. Had a really rough start to the year, battled back, but gone 3-3 the last 3 or 4 weeks. So playing 500 football consistently, and I'm gonna do 6 games on tap for you in this video as well. Can I do better than 500 this week? Let's find out. So getting into it, starting off with the game of the day. College game day is in Eugene, Oregon, for USC visiting the Oregon Ducks. Oregon 9.5 point favorite. It opened at 9.5, hasn't really moved. I caught it at 9.5. I saw that it finally started to move today, so I've seen a couple books at least. A couple books have moved this up to 10. So anyway, this game, first off, let's talk about Oregon. The big thing with Oregon right now is the health. This is something that concerned me about Oregon in the preseason, right? They lost Evan Stewart, who's probably the biggest offseason injury, so they lose a top 5 wide receiver coming into the year. He's out. You got 5-star freshman Decorian Moore. He's now the leading receiver of the team. He's having a great year. Then he gets hurt a couple weeks ago. He's still out. Then you have Gary Bryant Jr. He also missed last week's game against Minnesota. So you had Decorian Moore and Gary Bryant Jr., your top two wideouts. Both of them missed last week. They still won the game easily, but he's out. So the last week was all about the tight ends. Kenyon Sadiq had a great game. Backup tight end also put in some work. I think it's going to have to be more of that this week. Maybe Malik Benson. People talk about his talent level, but you don't really see it that much. So is it going to show out in this game against USC, against a pass defense of USC that can be had? So that's going to be the big question. So Dante Moore, he's going to have to work the tight ends, I think, in this game to counter a USC offense that is high powered, and that's probably going to be the biggest matchup of the day. Is that high powered USC passing offense, third in the country right now in expected points. Makai Lemon is having a phenomenal year. He might win the Biletnikoff. He probably should win the Biletnikoff award. Going against one of the best secondaries in the country in terms of pass defense metrics, second in the country in pass defense expected points allowed, first in yards per attempt, fourth in completion percentage. So J.D. Maueva, quarterback for USC, this is going to be his toughest test of the season. One thing to note, on the road this season, USC, in their 2 road losses, Illinois ran for 171 yards, and they can't run the ball. Illinois has a pedestrian running attack. Notre Dame, obviously is an elite level running attack. They ran for 305 yards. So why do I say that? USC, by the numbers, 62nd against the run. That's not good. That's not horrible. But on the road, things just don't seem to work. An elite running team like Notre Dame ran wild. A bad running team like Illinois ran wild. And now you're going against the Oregon Ducks, the 8th ranked rush offense in the country. So I expect if things to hold true, while Oregon, they're going to have, in the passing game, they're going to have to work the tight ends. In the running game, I think they're going to eat. I think they're going to hit a bunch of chunk plays in this game. I think they're going to gash USC on the ground. I think they're going to keep Maueva on the bench. And then when Maueva is on the field, he's going to have to go against a top-ranked pass defense. So that means he's not hitting enough big plays all game long, drive down the field all game long, putting up a lot of points on the board. I don't see that happening. So for me, I see the Oregon Ducks in running game and defense controlling this game, and Oregon covers this 9.5 at home. All right, moving on to the next game. We've got BYU visiting Cincinnati. Big game in the Big 12. So BYU needs this to continue their road to making it to the Big 12 title game. They have a shot. I think they're currently they're currently 11th in the college football playoff rankings. However, a lot of projections are projecting them to miss the college football playoff. I'm assuming they think that Texas Tech is going to beat them in the Big 12 title game, and then somebody will overtake BYU in the rankings. So BYU needs this. In fact, if BYU can go in here and get a blowout victory against a Cincinnati team that's kind of reeling, maybe it looks good to the committee. Cincinnati, a few weeks ago, this was a massive game. Cincinnati has since lost 2 games in a row. Blown out by Utah 45-14. Then they lost a classic trap game at home to Arizona 30-24 last week. So now you're going into this game limping into this big showdown, quote unquote showdown against BYU. But now you got really nothing to play for because now you can't get to the Big 12 title game. Now you're really just playing for a better bowl bid, right? A better bowl location is essentially what you're playing for, and to play spoiler in a way for against BYU. So motivation is a big factor in this one. I think BYU is going to be completely motivated to go into Cincinnati and get this W. When you look at how this game can play out, Bear Bachmeier, true freshman quarterback, having a strong true freshman season. One of the great things he does is run the football. 479 yards rushing and 10 touchdowns on the year. You got one of the best running backs in the country in the backfield with you and LJ Martin. It's 21st ranked rush offense in the country. You're playing against the 86th ranked run defense in the country. So already, I think BYU's running game is going. And then I think you get balance because the Cincinnati pass defense, 108th in expected points allowed, 88th in high impact plays allowed. This is the type of game that a true freshman quarterback, a good true freshman quarterback like Bear, he should have a good game passing the ball. So now you're talking about balanced throwing, balanced running, controlling the clock, controlling the game flow, hitting big chunk plays. And on the Cincinnati side, Brendan Sorsby's having his best season as far as passing the ball goes. He's always been a dual threat, always been a good runner. But you're going against a tougher BYU pass defense, 11th in completion percentage allowed, 9th in expected points allowed. So Brendan Sorsby's unlikely to be able to match score for what I think BYU is going to do, because I think BYU is going to be able to methodically get down the field and put points on the board in this one. So 2.5 seemed like a really low number to me, considering where these two programs are headed right now. So go ahead and give me BYU. I'm going to lay the 2.5 on the road. Moving on to the next game, we got Pitt Panthers visiting the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Georgia Tech, 2.5-point favorite in this game. Haven't seen any line movement at all in this one. This is another one where these are two teams that have motivation, right? So Georgia Tech is simple. Georgia Tech wins this game, they're off to the ACC championship game. If Pitt wins this game, I mean, you get a lot of chaos. They got a shot, right? But, unlikely as it is. So we look at this game. You say the Pitt Panthers, they're led by the true freshman quarterback, Mason Heinschel. I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. And a strong defense. So defensively, Pitt Panthers come in 9th in the country against the run. Georgia Tech, 10th in the country running the football. But then you got to double click. You got to dive into the numbers. How good is the Pitt Panther run defense really? Here's 3 of the better rush offenses they face this year. Notre Dame, currently 26th in the country running the football. Notre Dame went for 175. Florida State, a top 10 run offense currently. Florida State went for 170. West Virginia's 50th in the ground, and they did this with a backup running back, might I add, 174 yards on the ground. So when I look at that 9th ranked run defense for Pitt Panthers, it sounds to me like they're eating off of bad run defenses. Not a team like Georgia Tech, not with a Haynes King, Malachi Holsey, Jamal Haynes, who are combined for almost 2,000 yards rushing right now. So I think that Georgia Tech is going to have a pretty strong game on the ground. I don't think you're going to see a 9th ranked top 10 run defense from the Pitt Panthers in this one. So now I look at Georgia Tech. Well, they're going to be able to control the clock on the ground. That's going to open things up for Haynes King, though Georgia Tech doesn't really throw down the field. A lot of short passes there, so that helps that Pitt Panthers pass defense. But still, you're going to have some balance there because Haynes King is having one of his more efficient years in his career. So can the true freshman Mason Heinschel balance that out with the running game of the Pitt Panthers? Well, you started off with Desmond Reed, a big time player in that offense, all-purpose back, running the rock, but also catching passes out of the backfield. He's out. That's a big time loss in this game. So now it's going to be really about Heinschel and finding his pass catchers down the field. Now, this Georgia Tech pass defense is not strong. They give up 7.7 yards per attempt. That's right in line with what Mason does. So I'm expecting him to be able to find some success passing the ball down the field. I think Pitt is going to compete in this game for sure. But in the end, the motivation of Georgia Tech to win this game to get to the ACC title game. Night game in Atlanta. The crowd is probably going to show out for this game because they know the stakes. You're going to have a great ground game. And the fact that the Pitt Panthers are one of the most penalized teams in the country, that could matter in a tight one. Go ahead and give me Georgia Tech. And I'm going to lay the 2.5 as I think they go to Atlanta, as they book the ticket to Atlanta. All right, moving on to the next game. We got another ACC matchup. We got the Louisville Cardinal visiting SMU. So this is another game where you talk motivation. We're at the end of the season, right? SMU, they need four different things to happen for them to make the ACC championship game. So it's probably not going to happen for SMU, but there's still a shot for them to get back to the ACC championship game as they were there last year. And SMU doesn't seem to me like the type of team on the red last year that's going to quit anyway. So they're going to still be playing. They're going to be playing hard, and they're playing at home. Louisville. Louisville was on the top of the world. They upset Miami on the road. They had a shot to make it to the ACC title game, and now they've had two straight close losses. And the question is the season over? You throw in the fact that the top two running backs, Isaac Brown and Keywan Brown, they're out now for this game. Now it's really going to be reliant on Miller Moss, because now you're going down to your third string running back against a top 15 ranked run defense in SMU. You're probably getting nothing on the ground. So Miller Moss hasn't been that guy that I thought he was, teaming up with Jeff Brom and these wide receivers they have. It's been kind of pedestrian throwing the football for him. 100th in the country in expected points, and they're playing against a 45th ranked defense in terms of expected points. So SMU is not elite, defensively. But Miller Moss isn't getting off against anybody. So I don't think this Louisville offense is really going to put up a lot of points on the road in this game. So it's about SMU. SMU's rush offense, 106th in the country against the 23rd ranked run defense. They're probably not moving the ball on the ground. Though I do think TJ Harden is a good back, they just tend to not focus on the ground game. It's more about Kevin Jennings. Kevin Jennings, 73rd in expected points, 24th though under pressure. So when he's under pressure, he does make things happen. He's a mobile quarterback. He can make plays. But going against the 25th ranked run defense or 25th ranked defense in terms of expected points. So what I mean by all this, what I mean is this is probably going to be a defensive game. You're probably going to see some sloppy football. You're probably going to see some 3-and-outs. You might see some turnovers. But in the end, at home, with a better defense in this game, with a better shot, I would say, of having a ground game, with a better or a more efficient quarterback passing the football, with a quarterback who's more likely to go downfield than Miller Moss will, I'm going to go ahead and go with SMU, and I'm going to lay the 2.5. Should be a competitive game. I think it's going to be low scoring, but I think SMU covers at 2.5. All right, moving on to the next game. We've got the Kansas State Wildcats visiting the Utah Utes. Kansas State came into this season, I picked them to win the Big 12 back in the summer, right? They were, at least by a lot of people, were picked as one of the top contenders in the Big 12, and it just hasn't happened for them. One of the biggest issues is close games. 4 of their 5 Big 12 losses have been decided by one possession, 6 points or less. I mean, they've got a couple 1-point or 2-point losses in there. The only team that really rout them is Texas Tech, and that was more in the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, it was still a game, and then a bunch of turnovers kind of made that score look bigger than what that game really was. So what's the reason what team would lose a bunch of close games? In my opinion, it comes down to coaching. So Chris Klieman, man, he's just not getting it done. And that's going to matter in this game against Kyle Whittingham, a coach who does get it done. They've lost 2 games in the Big 12 as you have the Utah Utes, but other than that, those are games you could say they're expected to lose. Though no, the BYU game is a competitive game. Everybody else, they got an average margin victory of 30. They're smashing everyone. So now it comes down to, is this game, are they going to smash Kansas State? That's Utah's trend. Or is Kansas State going to play a tight game? That's their trend, right? The spread in this game is 17.5 in Utah. Should be noted, Kansas State's they're down a few running backs now, so they're down Dylan Edwards. Sorry, they're down Dylan Edwards, so it's gonna be Joe Jackson. He only averages 52 yards rushing a game. They're going against the 57th ranked run D. You got Avery Johnson, who has wheels, but he's not really using them like he's had it in years past. So you're going against a vulnerable run defense, but you can't really run the football. So I don't think that's going to be a matchup where you say Kansas State kind of can take advantage. Then you throw in this. They've got injuries with the Wildcats. Their top wide receiver, who's having a really good year, Chase Brown, he's out. Their top defensive player, Austin Romaine, at linebacker, one of the leading tacklers in the Big 12, he's out. That matters because Utah has one of the best secondaries, maybe the best secondary in the Big 12. So now, who are you throwing the ball to? How's Avery Johnson, who's already kind of inconsistent as a passer as it is? Who's he getting the ball to? And then running the football. That's what Utah loves to do with Devin Dampier. This is the second-ranked rush offense in the country. Kansas State is 76th against the run, and now you're down your top tackler, your top linebacker. That's going to be tough. And this Utah defense, again, great on the back end, great at bringing pressure. I think this is a game we're going to see Utah's defense dominate. I think you're going to see Utah's ground game dominate, hit a lot of big plays on the ground, big chunk plays on the ground, gash this team. And I think the Utah Utes are going to cover that 17.5. So give me Utah. And moving on to the sixth and final game. No SEC games this week. I know it's crazy, but just nothing was speaking to me. We got a game that with a team you usually don't see on here, Michigan State. We got Michigan State visiting Iowa. Iowa, 16.5 point favorite in this game. Crazy to hear Iowa as a 16.5 point favorite against anyone. But you look at Michigan State, it's a terrible football team. And it's so bad that there's a lot of talk right now. There's a lot of fire around Jonathan Smith right now, the head coach for the Spartans, about getting fired. He might be fired after this game. He might be fired at the end of the season, but there's a lot of smoke there. So what's Michigan State's motivation? Are these guys even going to try? They got a really good young wide receiver in Nick Marsh. I don't think he's going to be a Spartan next year personally. I think he'll be in the portal. So that's another factor in this game. Are the players focused? Are the players thinking about their next destination because the coach might get fired and the team sucks? That's something that I think you got to think about when it comes to Michigan State Spartans. And then look at the metrics. You got 104th ranked rush offense. Michigan State can't run the rock. Going against the 16th ranked run defense, there's going to be nothing going on there for the Spartans. Passing the ball, they used to start Aiden Childs. I believe he's hurt. Might have gotten benched. Might have been both. He was turnover prone, really erratic quarterback, not that strong. Second string quarterback, Alessio Milivojevic, probably saying that last name wrong. He started 2 games so far. This is going to be his 3rd start. He's been sacked 12 times in 2 games. He had 300 yards passing against Minnesota, but this is in Minnesota. He had 128 yards passing against Penn State. This is more like Penn State. Iowa's pass defense, 10th in yards per attempt, 6th in expected points, 5th in high impact plays allowed. Alessio's probably doing nothing through the air. So if you're not going to do anything on the ground, so you're getting no balance, and now you're not going to be able to do anything through the air, really the question is, how is Michigan State going to score? So to me, there's no shot Michigan State wins this game. It's all about can Iowa, the Iowa Hawkeyes, a pedestrian offense, cover 16.5. You got Mark Gronowski, 6 yards per attempt. That's 136 in the country. Horrific number passing the football. But if you've been watching Iowa lately, there's been a little bit of an uptick in his play, in the overall offense play as a whole. Against Minnesota, 7.1 yards per attempt. Against Oregon, 7.7 yards per attempt in bad conditions. There was a 40-yard broken play in there, though. Let's count that. And then USC, 6.9 yards per attempt. So these aren't great numbers at all, but it's better than what he's been playing. So that kind of, the metrics, support what you're seeing, what your eyes are seeing on the field, that Iowa's offense is playing better because they can't run the ball with Kamari Moulton as well. Michigan State can't really stop the run. Michigan State can't really stop the pass. So I look at this game and I say, Michigan State's probably not hitting double digits. If Iowa gets to 24, this is probably a covering 16.5. And because of that, because I think Iowa hits 24, and I think Iowa hits more than 24, go ahead and give me the Hawkeyes laying the 16.5. And that wraps it up. I got 6 games, 6 favorites, so we'll see how that goes, but this is how I see it. So if you like the content, please like, comment, and subscribe as you're going to see more pick and prediction videos going forward. Take care.